Hey y'all, it's the first WoW show of the new year. We are looking forward with this battle royale to determine who will be the new WoW World Champion. And we've got some tag team action and a lot of stuff to look forward to in the new year. This is Steph and Kat Talk WoW.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late. I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies.
Hey y'all, welcome to the first episode of Steph and Cat Talk WoW of 2025. We missed y'all, but life has been lifing, but at the end of the day, we made it. And of course, that is only half the battle. Of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, celebrating 5 years coming soon, as well as co-host of this fabulous show and HWP Extra and contributing writer for Daily DDT. But of course, I'm not alone. Even though my friend is behind an avatar right now due to technological issues, she is still with us with a voice. She is the creator of In Cat We Trust, a backstage correspondent to various wrestling promotions in all of New York and New Jersey. And she is an amazing author and supermom. She is Katrina Blake. How are you, Kat?
I am well, tired as always tired, but I'm happy to be back. It's been a long few weeks, and we do apologize, guys. There's been a lot happening in the last few weeks on both ends, and so we're glad to be back.
Yes, we are so happy to be back. There have been like so many episodes and so much stuff going on in our lives, and we wanted to come back sooner, but of course, stuff just happens that is out of your control at times. But of course, we've still been keeping up with all of the stuff going on with our favorite ladies in wrestling, the WoW superheroes. And of course, within this new year, there's still so much to look forward to, so many battles to fight, and so many lines to draw. But in the midst of this, we felt like it was great to come back on this episode that has such high stakes with this battle royal. We've seen countless superheroes fight each other for a spot in the 12-person battle royale to determine the new WoW World Champion. Of course, that title was made vacant by the Beast, who decided to leave WoW to basically reallocate herself and just stay away from WoW and wrestling a little bit. So the title was left vacant, and all of these women were scrapping back and forth for a spot in this battle royale, which David McClain gave us the history of in terms of crowning the first WoW World Champion in Terry Gold. And they showed that archival footage in this episode, and they showed it in the previous episode weeks ago. So yeah, it was really cool to see that and to see it manifest in this episode. So before we even get to the battle royale, Katrina, how have you felt about the journey leading to this amazing match that we're looking forward to with such high stakes?
It's kind of bittersweet because how I guess the title became vacant, and already because there was an issue with that particular superhero before, when the title was kind of taken, and while it was a different reference in that regard, it's still like, oh man, and so now it's like, well, who gets the top prize, or rather, who's getting the top prize of something that I felt like, just personally, we didn't even get as much as the beast as we could have gotten. And that's unfortunate for me, but this is just me being very picky um about things. I do like her, and I wish we could have gotten more before she vacated the title, but it's good to kind of, I guess, see who else can kind of step up to the plate in that regard, um, and do for the company as the champion. Because there's the trios and there's the tag titles, but the main championship is the world title, and so it's good to see the ladies stepping up for that challenge and like moving on for a new phase of WoW going forward.
Yes, you are right. It is bittersweet in the idea that the Beast felt like she was just dejected and demoralized from what happened to her in terms of getting attacked as the champion and nobody wanting to step up in a fair way to try to take her down or to try to take the title off her in terms of competition. And yeah, it is bittersweet when you think of it that way. But in the grand scheme of it, it still, lays an opportunity out for so many other women, especially the newer superheroes who we've seen, come forth in this new season, as well as other women who have been champion or haven't been champion, but yet stars in their own right and pillars of WoW at this point, just moving forward. And it was just really great. So it's really good in the sense that we're watching so many of these stars just come into their own and fight their way for this opportunity. So Roderick is in the comments on YouTube saying hello and everything, and it's really cool. Thank you for that, for watching on YouTube, and thank you to all of you
Hey,
who
hey.
are watching us live on any one of our platforms. Thank you guys so much. Um, he also mentioned, I'm hoping and praying that WWE will form a partnership with WoW so that way we can have Liv Morgan show up. Now, in terms of partnerships, we did see an announcement with WWE and TNA making their partnership official and putting it on paper. And that's amazing in terms of NXT because they will actually be popping up on TNA Genesis this weekend. So it would be amazing. I've said it multiple times on this show that I would love it if WWE or NXT had like a combo show with WoW to see how many of those women would actually, mix things up with the women of NXT or just main roster women. That would be cool too. But you just never know with the world of wrestling and just how bigger everything is getting now. It's like wrestling is just growing and growing more. And I love it. So that's a great idea, Roderick. Thank you so much for chiming in with that. Kat, you have anything to add?
Well, I know he put it because I don't like Liv Morgan. So I saw when I saw that, I knew that was towards me. And I think I see the other comments on the side as well. But it is definitely because he knows I do not like Liv Morgan like that. So this is and so this is clearly towards me. Though I would like at some point to see some of the girls from WWE and WoW battle. I would love to see that, but we don't need Liv Morgan for that. Just personal preference.
Now, Liv Morgan, mixing it up with some of the girls, that would be really intense. I have this weird feeling she would low-key hook up with like Siren the Voodoo Doll and the Dark Forces for some weird reason. I don't know. That's just kind of what she's giving in terms of WoW. But we just gotta wait and see what happens there. But it was a great idea. So thank you for chiming in with that. So to get started with this episode, it only had 3 matches and a couple of promos in there to sort of talk about a lot of these women and their motivations as they head into the battle royal. But the first match was a tag team match between the Dojo Defenders and the Environmentalist. Now, in the past few episodes, we have seen the debut of the Environmentalists in terms of Scout Parker and Sprout Greens. They did have a great debut as a tag team because, of course, Scout Parker was formerly known as Ice Cold, but she went on a retreat in order to find herself a little bit, and she became one with nature. And in the midst of that, she met Sprout Greens, who is a 100% um, grade A vegan and just passionate about reconnecting with the earth and just having things cruelty free made, because they did talk about how her boots and her gear are cruelty free, and I absolutely admire that. If if you can find things like that, like, I love it. But of course their chemistry is amazing as a tag team, but going up against the Dojo Defenders, I was wondering how that was going to go. So of course, after David did his announcement of the battle royal with the history and everything, we got started with this tag team match. Sprout And Kara Kai got the match started, and Kara had the upper hand right up until Sprout actually twisted up Kara Kai into the ropes, and then tagged in Scout. It's really interesting to say Scout Parker and Sprout right next to each other. It's just kind of like the names are just so similar. So if I get either one of them mixed up, it's charge it to my head and not to my heart, because Sprout and Scout is just a lot. But either way, um like Sprout and Scout really did have their chemistry on full display here as they were tangling up Tara and Kara. There was one point where Scout actually tied up Tara and tried to injure her knee within the ropes and kick her leg over and over again to target that leg to keep her from using it as her weapon, because Tara, of course, is a black belt. So when you're a black belt, you use your legs a lot to kick. So it was a very smart strategy on the part of the environmentalists to target their martial arts background. But in the midst of it all, the Dojo Defenders were able to battle back and use a lot of their quickness and their strikes in order to win the match. They even hit a double sunset flip and covered both of the environmentalists for the 1, 2, 3 in order to win. So this was a really high powered tag team match. I enjoyed the action from both of these women, but I was happy to see the Dojo Defenders get the upper hand and win this match and bounce back after they faced a defeat in their last tag team match. So this was great on the part of Tara Strike and Kara Kai. I was really happy about that. So yeah, this was a really good tag team match. And I can't wait to see more of what the environmentalists have to offer, because they have a very strong message in terms of protecting the environment that they want to give. And if you're not down with that, then they basically said they'll run all over you. So yeah, that's what we have going on there. So Katrina, how did you feel about this tag team match?
I thought it was good. It is kind of funny, I guess, seeing Ice Cold um kind of, become a different character. Just because to me, first, like, because we have Sprout who gives me Poison Ivy vibes with the hair and the costume. And then I'm thinking of like Batman, was that Batman? No, not Forever. Batman and Robin is the one that have
Mm-hmm.
Poison, I believe. So Batman and Robin, when it was like Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze were the villains. And so
Yes.
to me, before Ice Cold has had her, reawakening. I just thought it was funny that they paired them up because of that. But I thought this was a good matchup between them, and I feel like with the Dojo Defenders, they have been like steadily kind of showing more and more what they can do. I mean, I felt like we were, happy when they first showed up in the first place, but it's always nice to see, because something I've said before, but the tag division, when you have a group, or in particular with like Miami Sweet Heat, who kind of dominated the tag division for a very long period of time, and there weren't too many other tag options as far as when you were trying to figure out who was going to get another title shot. And while it's different right now because there's new champions that has the title now and everything, it's still nice to see newer tag teams kind of, showcasing what they do in hopes that they can also be champions someday. And so I thought this was a really a fun way to open up the show, and I'm also looking forward to see with all four the ladies do in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that part that you mentioned about Batman and Robin, because I swear I feel like in terms of the critical online aspect, people give those movies so much crap, but when I tell you those were my favorite alongside with the animated ones, those were my absolute favorite. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and then you pointed out the similarities between Scout and Sprout and Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze. That's so crazy. Like I hadn't thought about that in so long. And the fact that you connected that just made my just it just scratched the itch in my brain, like, that's so cool. So yeah, I just can't even believe that. But yeah, that's really great. That connection was made there. But I really did, appreciate that match, and I do love the fact that there are other tag teams stepping up to the plate, because it seems like a lot of the time whenever somebody else wins the tag titles, like right now in the form of Big Rigs and Bourbon, there's always Miami Sweet Heat coming right behind them to try to get another title shot. And it doesn't seem fair a lot of the time. So the idea that there are more tag teams stepping up to the plate in order to challenge for it is just really great for me. I'm just like, okay, good, because yeah, there's just so much talent in the WoW locker room that if there were more tag teams, there would be a credible chance for all of them to have a chance at the tag titles outside of Miami Sweet Heat taking up all the time and everything. So I really did enjoy this tag team match. The environmentalists are very interesting for me because I've just never seen a tag team like them before. And I just like what they represent. They remind me a lot of Bryan Danielson when he was the Planet's champion. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that just in a way that, you think about how passionate people are when they think about protecting the earth and recycling and reducing waste and everything. They also remind me a lot of anti-litter. Like I don't know, what type of upbringing that a lot of people had, in terms of anti-litter if they were exposed to that growing up, but I was a lot. And we went to the Earth Day parades in the park and everything and learned about the importance of recycling and stuff. So that's what they remind me of in a very, childhood memory type of way. So I appreciate them for that, and I love their chemistry as a tag team. But to see the Dojo Defenders rise up and win just made me really glad too, because yeah, they're really great. So yeah, that match was fantastic. So match number 2 was a very um great one in terms of the work of a particular superhero who is a part of a mystery thing with Chainsaw. It was Magnificent Miranda Mirage, or M3 is what I'm going to call her, coming to the ring with Siren the Voodoo Doll versus Pep Riley. And over the past few weeks, we've seen this interaction that Pep Riley's been having with Chainsaw, with them exchanging daisies and sort of becoming friends backstage, but not really out in front. And you have Chainsaw sort of keeping it a secret from Angelica Dante because you know that she's not really going to like that all too much. So we have that dynamic going on. And on commentary, Nigel and David are really just trying to figure out, like, what's the deal with this friendship? So in the midst of that, Pep Riley is having this match with M3. And this, I feel like, was sort of a breakout performance for Pep in the sense that we're seeing Pep utilize more of her pinning combinations in this match to get the upper hand over M3. And I thought it was really, really great. Like, of course, we've seen her use her acrobatic skills because, of course, she has that cheerleading background. But she has been in the lab working on her pins and working on her takedowns and everything else like that, using her drop toe holds to get the upper hand on M3, tripping her up, trying to duck her kicks a lot of the time. I was just like, look at you, Pep, stepping into your own. Like, I really liked it. And any time that M3 tried to get the upper hand onto her and dig her foot down into her face or something like that, she would just battle back over and over again. And I was just like, Pep, girl, you're doing it. You're really doing it. And I'm just going to need for her to like get her things. There were so many moments where I thought for sure that Pep really could have had this match won. I was just so impressed by her. But in the end, of course, if you have a manager at WoW or if you have somebody by your side to distract, it pays dividends. And Siren wound up distracting Pep Riley, and M3 took advantage of it by hitting her with a scissor kick, and she wound up winning the match. Miranda Mirage got her victory here over Pep Riley, but that's not to take anything away from Pep. Even though she did lose the match, she definitely kicked a lot of butt in it, and I can't wait to see more of her growth. You know, being a breakout person in the midst of team spirit, just not being a thing anymore. She's making new friends backstage with monsters and being nice to them, and now just bouncing out of her shell. I love it. So, Katrina, how did you feel about the performance of Pep Riley going up against M3?
I agree with you there. I do think that, you know, with Team Spirit, we had Coach Cabanelli and Ariel Sky, and Pep was again one of the last ones to join. And I kind of said at first, she was there and she was happy to be there, but I also felt like if like she fit in, I guess aesthetically she fit in. You thought of like the athleticism and you have coach, you have cheerleaders, you have gymnasts, you have all that. So she fit the aesthetic, but because I felt like she never really belonged because coach really made it kind of obvious that she didn't want her as part of the group and did everything to kind of basically let her know that. And so to kind of with everything kind of imploding the way it did, and then coach kind of now with top tier and kind of moved on to, I don't want to say greener pastures, but that's how the saying is. Um, I was wondering what was going to happen with Pep Riley, and so her kind of standing out solo, her having matches by herself, but really kind of I feel like even being more confident in some of the moves she's even doing. I feel like she's being more confident in herself, even with the friendship with Chainsaw, which I feel like I'm not really sure exactly where we're going with this just yet, but it's also one of those things like opposites attract. Or I'm thinking of very much like actually Katarina Jinx and Goldie, where it was like they always like the the differences, or if you're thinking like from Wednesday, and I can't think of the girl's name right now, the blonde one, but how they were kind of like opposites attract. Wednesday from Wednesday Adams and her, I can't think of her roommate name right now,
Yeah.
it's not coming to me, but that just the differences of like personality differences, and yet it worked somehow. And so I feel like this is one of those like situations. It's like maybe it's just one of those friendships that you don't have to necessarily have a bunch in common, but you're friends. I think everybody has a friend that you're like, or if you have different friend groups, you're like, oh, this friend might not fit in with this group, but I'm cool with this person. And so I do think that it is nice that she's being kind, even with everything that has happened with her over the last few months, and that she's actually kind of stepping out on her own. And so it is unfortunate that it ended the way it did, but I still think she's definitely coming into her own. And wow, and she's also somebody else I'm kind of looking forward to see what we're going to get from her this year.
Yeah, like it's so crazy how that happens in wrestling because I know not to really try to bring this up, but just at the same time, like the first thing that comes to mind where in Black and Gold NXT when you had Real One when he was known as Enzo Amore and Big Cass and Carmella. And then everything happened with them and Carmelo wound up being like the breakout person, in the midst of everything that changed and also in the midst of her being drafted last, and she wound up being one of the most impactful women stars of that time. Like it's really crazy, how sometimes you can be in a group, but then circumstances happen in life and things pull people apart. And in the case of Coach Campanelli, she was just being mean and just sort of looking like, look, like I want the top people and you guys aren't doing it. But then you have this person in Pep who's just been left by herself. She has no coach. She has no Ariel Sky, no Sasha Sparks, and she's sort of left all alone, but she's still rising and finding herself and not giving up on herself. It's like she's not feeling sorry for herself anymore. And that's something that I can definitely relate to and definitely get with because Miss Ma'am has been through it, but at least, she's making the very best of the situation. And I just appreciated seeing that in this match going up against this newer superhero, who has a lot to prove, and now she's hooked up with Siren the Voodoo Doll because they have the whole magic thing going on. And yeah, the odds were stacked against her, but she still went forward anyway. And that's something that I could appreciate about Pep in that regard. So yeah. And to be clear, Coach didn't really go to like greener pastures. She picked like really great athletes in Gloria Glitter and Crush. No shade to them at all. But the way she did it, it just wasn't the greatest. So that's why we're just sort of looking at it like, but still. Um, but yeah, Pep really is shining. And I wonder if her and just her pursuing this friendship is a part of it too. with Chainsaw, but I guess we just have to wait and see how that coalesces. But either way, Miss Ma'am did the doggone thing. But M3 did good too, and I'm very fascinated to watch her growth as well. So this was a really good match. But M3, Magnificent Miranda Mirage came out the victor. So before we get into this battle royal, we did have an announcement on social media from WoW that Sibley Skulls, who we did talk about in an earlier episode, will be making her debut this weekend as the backstage correspondent. So we are excited to see her make her debut, and maybe at some point we'll have her on the show. As you know, a really special interview, because she seems like an amazing person who has really built up her following as a interviewer and a host of different shows with the NFL, with the Las Vegas Raiders, and other platforms as well, like Netflix. So we can't wait to see that, and we get to see how the landscape of WoW has changed since the Battle Royal happened. So now we get to our main event, which was the 12-person battle royale to determine the new WoW World Champion. And the entrances for this match was very interesting because you had the heels come in first, and you had the faces come in last. And I thought that was really interesting. So, of course, the participants were the Classmaster, Reina Del Rey, Genesis, Holly Swag, Penelope Pink, and Paola the Colombian GOAT. And then Xena Phoenix, Chantilly Chella, Holidead, Tormenta, Princess Aussie, and Santana Garrett made their entrances there. And it was almost as if you were watching the Avengers assembling um against Thanos and his army in Endgame, because they were going in fighting each other as with them being on different sides of things. But of course, you know that this is every woman for themselves when it comes to this sort of thing. And it's so interesting we're having this conversation as the Royal Rumble is upon us. But timing is so wonderful. But yeah, Chantilly Chella and Holidead actually worked together to you sort of knock out some of the girls. It was like we were seeing some tag teams sort of work together to a certain degree in this battle royal. It was almost like there was one point where Holiday lifted Chantilly on her shoulders and was turning her around like Terry Funk used to do with his ladder. That was really cool. And sadly enough, one of my picks to win this battle royal got eliminated first, and it was Xena Phoenix. She was the first to qualify for this match and wound up being the first eliminated. And that broke my heart because I was just like, dang it. She made such a great impression when she got in the match, but then she got eliminated first. And I was like, man. But then all the ladies proceeded to gang up on Classmaster. And then Chantilly got eliminated by Reina Del Rey by getting pushed off the apron. Then Santana Garrett wound up eliminating Holidead, and then all of the ladies proceeded to gang up on Reina Del Rey, as you see in that picture, and then they also eliminated her, which is of course smart strategy. Try to get rid of the bigger opponent. That's the strategy that's as old as time now. Then we had Paola the Colombian GOAT sort of watching the other girls do all the work as she sat up on the top rope looking fabulous or whatnot. But then she got eliminated after a while. And what's so funny is that Abilene Maverick, the lady who brought her in and the former WoW World Champion, was rooting for her on commentary the entire time. But then when she got eliminated, she was so devastated. She was like, oh no, can I help her? And then David was like, no, because you're injured. Back off. It was so funny. And then Princess Aussie and Tormenta, who have been tag teaming a lot lately, teamed up to eliminate Genesis, which was very surprising for me because Genesis has just been, on a warpath to prove herself. So the idea that she got eliminated that quickly was just like, oh my God, whoa. So after that point, we got to our final six, which was Princess Aussie, Tormenta, and Santana Garrett going up against Classmaster, Holly Swag, and Penelope. Here again, heels versus faces, fighting each other. It was almost like a 6-woman tag, except it wasn't. Holly Swag had one of the sneakiest eliminations I had ever seen, which broke my heart. She slid underneath the bottom rope, which didn't eliminate her, and she knocked Princess Aussie off of the apron. And I was just like, no, my So she got eliminated that way, and then Holly was still in the match. But as Penelope Pink and Santana Garrett were struggling to get each other off of the apron, they kept fighting each other. But somehow Penelope Pink kicked Holly Swag in the head, and then Holly, in I guess her bravado, wound up knocking, she was aiming for Santana Garrett, but then wound up knocking herself and Penelope Pink and Santana Garrett off of the apron. So all three of those ladies were all out, all at the same time. And I was like, God dang. And Penelope Pink was upset about it because she got on social media and posted a picture of it saying WTF. And I was like, uh-oh. I'm pretty sure everything's not going to be okay in the Fab Four camp when it comes to that. So we had our final two, which was Classmaster and Tormenta, and they went back and forth. And of course, Tormenta was utilizing a lot of her high flying and jumping off of the top rope to get the upper hand on the Classmaster. It was really crazy. And it didn't last as long either. But then there was one point where Tormenta thought that she really threw the Classmaster over the top rope and she thought she had won, right? But Samantha Smart, being the smart manager that she is, helped Classmaster stay on the apron, and she climbed back into the ring and threw Tormenta over the top rope and won the battle royal, which means we are now living in the IQ superior era, and Classmaster is now the new WoW World Champion. She got all the confetti, all the celebration. She celebrated with Santana Garrett. Not Santana, I'm sorry. Samantha Smart. There's a lot of S's, y'all. Samantha Smart in the ring. And David McLean gave her the title. So Miss Ma'am is the champion. And yeah, it it's crazy. But before I talk more about it, Katrina, how did you feel about this battle royal and about the way it turned out and about Classmaster being our new champion?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, I feel like with the issue with Princess Aussie of like how everything kind of went with her title first, and then she kind of had to like earn it back and all of that. And so her being eliminated definitely made me feel a bit sad. Just because, like she did eventually get, the title, but it was just all that nonsense that happened during her reign. I felt like just all the shenanigans that happened, that I feel like this would have been a nice redo. Kind of like how I felt about Roxanne in NXT, like her losing her title because of injury, and it was the weird like putting her in this other match, and then she had to kind of change up a little bit, and then she had a really solid run, which is what I wanted for her. I think she knocked it out of the park, and so I felt like in this regard it would have been like, oh, she could have had a little bit of a redo. um and obviously it'll be like a second title reign, but like a redo to kind of do it the correct way, have it done the right way from the very beginning. And so that was sad. With that being said, I was also a little bit sad about Tormenta. And I say this only because Tormenta is actually one of the other women who's had a few title matches. And I did say this when some months ago, probably like maybe mid or early last year, when I was like, Tormenta kind of said she wanted to be in the title picture, and I was like, well, you had quite a few opportunities to kind of win the title, and you kind of, was unsuccessful every time. And so what are you going to do differently then? You can't say you want to have something, but you're not doing, I guess, enough to get it. And I'm not saying that, and while unfortunately we have quite a lot of people have that shenanigans happen, like again, the Fab Four engaged in quite a few shenanigans in the last 2 years of when it came to titles and stuff. And so not that, and I felt like she did come back, had the hair was darker, she came back on a different, I was like, okay, this is it. And so it was kind of nice to be like, okay, I thought because it was the final two that maybe she was going to win it. I was like shocked. I was like, oh, okay. This is where this is going. And it kind of made me sad, only because I felt like Tormenta definitely did. I feel like she has been trying to get herself back into the title picture, and it's just not working out. And I don't know if that's something she needs to, like, whatever she needs to tell herself to get herself in a. Sometimes you have to kind of get knocked down and come back better. And I don't know if that's what it is for her, but it was shocking only because, like I said, once it got to the final two, I was like, man, she might have a chance. And then I was like, oh, okay. With that being said, Samantha Smart did say and allude that she had a plan in place. And it seemed like, even though the title picture didn't go the way we thought it was going to go, because the Beast did kind of relinquish the title, Samantha did say last year that she had a plan in place. Now, yes, she did all the shenanigans with the other members of a Team IQ Superior, with like, um, man, why am I forgetting her name right now? But with
The disciplinarian?
disciplinarian, yeah, and like GI Jane, that's
Yeah.
what it was. Like, she did dim foul, but she didn't necessarily stray on Classmaster. And so to kind of have Classmaster take it, and I said the one thing I did like about Classmaster in particular was she was a big girl, and I mean big as in like size, and that is always something I'm always really interested when I see somebody who's bigger in stature. It's like, all right, I want to see what you're going to do with everybody on the roster. I kind of want to see what you are going to be more capable of. And so now that she's the main title holder, I am interested to see like how her reign's going to be. Now, do I think it's going to be some, promos of like a lot of smack talking? Obviously, yes. Um, you know, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be. I'm interested to see how this goes. I am. I was surprised only because I really thought Tormenta had it. I did, but I do like that. Okay, this was done kind of fair and square. It wasn't no weird like hiding of a championship and then a weird shit that was going on with other people's titles. And so it was sad, but we'll see how this goes. And I feel like Samantha's going to have a lot to say in these upcoming weeks because she did say she had a plan in place, and it took a little time, but it's done. It's kind of it got done. And so definitely a new the era of the Classmaster or a Team IQ Superior in WoW. And so congratulations, Classmaster. But I thought it was a really good battle royal either way. And some of the other ones, like I felt it would have been something with Penelope and Holly Swag, to be fair, because they already have that weird thing happening over the last few weeks that it's gonna probably be something that might cause a maybe Penelope face turn. We'll see. But
Woo! Oh,
I know how you are
Jesus.
about Penelope. But maybe we get a face turn. Maybe we get a new she'll decide that she doesn't necessarily need the Fab Four because a lot of shenanigans have been happening, and I feel like she's kind of getting the short end of the stick in recent weeks.
Oh my God, a Penelope face turn would. I feel like that's exactly what I need in my life. That's exactly what I need in my life. A Penelope Pink face turn. Oh my God. I would love that down. I'm not going to hold you because I just, to see her not have to, be a part of the Fab Four machine would just be nuts. But at the same time, it would be the greatest ride ever. I would love that a lot. Like that story with her and Holly. Like, could you even imagine Lana choosing Holly over Penelope Cat?
I mean, it's possible. It's
Oh,
possible. I feel like you don't want it. You would think that
whew.
you would kind of go by your original people. And I'm not saying don't add new people, but you think I'm a loyal, be a loyal person. Unless a person is really violating, where you might have to be like, I value loyalty amongst my peoples. And so I would hope, but again, I do feel like at times it seemed like Lana hasn't been as worried about Penelope. And I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing, like maybe she thinks she can handle herself, but if anything, I felt like Penelope is probably the one who's probably handled herself pretty well, even with the shenanigans that, the Fab Four was getting into, even when Vicky was there. You know, Penelope wasn't necessarily the one involved in all the extra shenanigans. Like she might have talked some crap and she might have been out, but she actually didn't too as much as the other ones involve herself in certain things. And so I don't know if that's what it is, but it's obviously there's some tension. I feel like at least on the end of Penelope might be feeling away. That I felt like she took Holly under her wing, but kind of forgot about Penelope in a sense. And so it's I mean I want to say she'll be loyal, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like she might not be. It seems like she's like Holly's the a shiny new toy right now, and so I don't know necessarily if she'll gonna stick to Penelope, but we'll see. I guess if it comes down to this, we're saying it like we know, but if it comes down to like, I obviously there's tension. I do think this is gonna come to a head at some point this year. But I definitely do. I don't know. I can definitely see it going either way, and can understand if Penelope decides, yeah, this is not it.
Yeah, that would be nuts. But just to put the focus back on Classmaster, a bit. Like she has been somebody that I've been, sort of enthralled with since the first time I saw her because because like you said, she has that size. And I feel like anytime a woman has that size, I just, look at them in awe because they're just so it's one thing you can be strong and be of any type of build, right? But if you're strong and then you're also like tall and everything like she is, she just has this statuesque look about her, and she's just very like she's very tough and she'll knock you down. And I just feel like that type of toughness in a woman is just really amazing. And I've just loved watching her work from the moment I first saw her. And even from seeing her in the indies, like it's just really cool to just see her and how she works even there. So the idea that she and Samantha have been talking about, working their way towards the WoW title all this time, and to finally have that plan in place and then to execute it to now her holding the gold is just really amazing to me. Like, holy cow, like they played the long game, even though a lot of it was very shady a lot of the time. They played the long game and got a title onto, IQ Superior. Now, it would if GI Jane could have been a champion. It would have been amazing if the disciplinarian could have been too, but all of that craziness happened the way that it did, and that's just how it was. But if Samantha Smart really planned all of this and played her cards right, like to get to this result, then I definitely admire her for that, because there are some people who just don't have the patience to execute a long-term plan like that. They want the short-term plan with the popcorn result. She was like, "No, like let me cook. Like I'm cooking this for a long time, but it's going to be good once you get it." So, yeah, Classmaster, it's like Samantha is a master strategist, but the Classmaster is definitely an amazing athlete in order to get the point, the brutality across. So I just really love that she's a champion now. And then of course she got on social media and talked about how much it meant to her to hold the title, especially at this point in her career where I believe she either is a native of Los Angeles, and of course right now with them dealing with the devastation of the wildfires and her sort of celebrating the victory, even though it's bittersweet time right now, you can still tell it meant the world to her to hold the championship on a television show like this. So for her in real life to have this opportunity, it's just amazing. It's always great when you watch newer stars step into the fold like this. So big ups to the Classmaster for being the new WoW World champion. We went from one dominant woman to another dominant woman in her. So I'm really excited about that. But of course, this means that she is going to have a target on her back like she's never had before. So we got to watch out for that. But yeah, that was the end of the episode, and it was a really great way to start the new year. We got a new champion, and yeah, it's just really great stuff. So we've reached the end of our time together. So of course, thank all of you guys for watching us live. There are 153 of you guys watching, and that's the biggest audience we've ever had live. So thank you guys so much for this. For watching wherever you're watching. And of course, if you want to support and watch WoW Superheroes, if you love a quirky women's wrestling show, you can watch this show and go on their website on wowe.com and type in your zip code wherever you are or wherever you're from and check out where it comes on for you on regular television. You can also catch episodes on Pluto TV and also on Vice television as well. And you can watch episodes on their YouTube channel, which is WoW Superheroes, and also get their merchandise. They have really cute merch on Amazon.com as well as pro wrestling tees too. So yeah, support them. And in the meantime, after you watch their episodes, you can come watch us. Because we are the Wow Post show that's on. So if you watch us, we'll keep you up to date of what's going on and just continue to follow us as we continue on this wild journey and just support women's wrestling as a whole in all of its various forms, mainstream, indie, or otherwise, because it deserves to grow in 2025. So, Katrina, thank you for joining me, even though I missed your face. Um, so, just tell everybody where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on.
You guys can find and follow me on Cat We Trust Ease of Three on every place but Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. I am trying to get myself together. I slept so bad last year, guys. I really did. I was looking at like stuff towards the end, and I was like, oh man, I didn't do half the stuff I was supposed to do last year. And so I'm trying to get my life correct. I do what I'm supposed to be doing, guys. And so I do have a new interview coming out tomorrow, which is actually really fun, and first interview of 2025. And so it was really fun to do with Sammy Chaos, super awesome girly. And so that's coming out. I have a couple of my interviews coming out as well. I have a bunch of video stuff that I should have posted, but it's getting posted very slowly, but it's happening. And if you are in any of the areas, I should be kind of test driving a show in the Bronx this weekend of Greater Wrestling Alliance backstage. I'm testing. This is my first time working with them, so I'm like test driving. I think we're test driving each other. That's the right way to say it. To see if this is going to be a going forward type thing. So if you are in the area, go watch, and I might make it a slight appearance at another show that's for a free show in the Bronx. So there's a couple of people I know that will be on that show, Battle Club Pro in the Bronx. I might make an appearance, not working, but I'll just might be there as support for some of the people I know that's wrestling. So that's about it for now.
Awesome sauce. You are the busiest woman in terms of indie stuff in New York and New Jersey, and I love it so much. So, of course, you can find and follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy, on Blue Sky at Queen Steph Hardy, and on TikTok for the foreseeable future. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know, at Stephanie underscore Hardy. You can follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. You can also listen to the show everywhere you get your audio podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And just continue to support and follow your girl. Read my articles on Daily DDT. I'm still cooking up some stuff for the new year because, oh my gosh, the new year in wrestling has really kicked off into high gear, and there's just so much that I might want to say and weigh in on things. It continues to be colorful and inspiring. So there's still a lot that I have to give and work on. So please be on the lookout for new articles from Daily DDT. And also, if you are looking to book someone to maybe do ring announcing, interviewing, or commentary, book your girl, email me, or DM me, and anywhere you can find me, and we can work some stuff out because I do travel. And of course, within the next few weeks, I will be in Indianapolis for the Royal Rumble. So be on the lookout for stuff with that, as well as I'm getting ready to celebrate 5 years of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast as a whole. So yeah, there's a lot going on. But anyway, your girl wants to continue to expand her voice and use her voice for the good of wrestling. So yeah, 2025 is mine, and I'm claiming it right now. So, of course, this has been Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And until next time, love on women's wrestling. Bye, y'all.